Now, quick housekeeping. This is an intimate venue, so if you need to have a conversation, please move that conversation outside. If your phone is not silent, now is the time to put your phone on silent. If you're still standing, there's something wrong, find your seat right now. If you're a speaker, this beautiful spotlight is exactly for you. Try not to move too far away from it. So move anywhere between this this space over here to this space over there. There's a nice sticker that you will notice right in the middle. This will help the cameras to capture the fantastic thoughts that you're here to share. 2024 started out as an absolute whirlwind in the entire world of crypto, but also macroeconomically speaking. It is a tough time for many of us, but all of us are praying for peace. All of us are praying for love, and the world needs more love, and I'd love for each one of you to be an apostle of peace, an apostle of love, because what we're doing here is to share knowledge, to share thoughts, to share ideas in hopes of making this world a better place. I'm very proud of the fact that we are joined by thought leaders in this space. First and foremost today, we'll hear from Ralph and Bruce. Bruce is someone that I've had the pleasure of meeting a few years ago and interacting with last year and this year again closer. Someone that truly believes in the game-changing, revolutionary opportunity that blockchain and Bitcoin has brought to us. With that, he's the founder of the Satoshi Roundtable, one of the most exclusive collective of thought leaders in this space. We're going to hear from Lily Liu, the president of the Solana Foundation. We're going to hear from Yat Sui, the man that I endearingly call the godfather of the metaverse. We're going to hear from founders in the metaverse. We're going to hear from Danilo, that is putting together a unique concept in 37X and with his fund Morningstar Ventures. We're going to hear from the first person that was on live TV, on mainstream media, talking about crypto, Ran Neuer. And we're going to hear from Henzi Healy, the legal advisor of DDX, who are our partner in this event today. Most of you have seen me speak many times before, but I must admit that standing here in front of you with such an impressive audience, with such an impressive lineup of speakers, I have a little bit of fear that moves through all of my bones. So be kind to the people that are standing here on stage. This is much more difficult than it looks. Please find your seats right now. We're going to get started. And the first two people that I'll call here on stage is my co-founder and partner and friend and brother Ralph, and our brother and friend Bruce Fenton. Give them a big round of applause, everyone.
So Bruce, come to me, please, come to me. I'm very proud that you are here, Bruce. And I know you are since many years here in the Middle East and coming back and forth. But I want to give a bit of a history. Yeah? So I came the first time 1998 to Dubai. And in 1998, there was the Internet City and the Media City freshly built. And I was wondering who is going to use the Internet City, who is going to use the Media City, who is going to come here in the middle of nowhere at this time. I came back 2 years later, IBM, Microsoft, Google, Siebel, Oracle, you name it, everyone was there. And now we have a similar situation. In 2016, there have been a few people in the blockchain space. Saka was one of them at IBM at this time. Dr. Marwan was one of them. And they had a vision. They had a vision that the Middle East or the UAE can be the next crypto center. And we built something like this in Switzerland, the Crypto Valley, and we said, let's bring that over. Let's build an ecosystem. We called it the fastest growing ecosystem in the world in the blockchain space. Today we have 1,800 companies in the UAE in the blockchain space. Binance employees, I think 700 plus people. But this is all not important. More important, who is going to come? And who can be a catalyst to bring the people? I think the Satoshi Roundtable. It's very famous. Crypto Valley celebrated 10 years this week. You celebrated 10 years this week. And we would like to learn how do you want to change the world, and what about 10 years Satoshi Roundtable. So thanks, Bruce, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. 10 years. I think in terms of decades, 10 years is a lifetime in this space. It's been a long 10 years, a fascinating 10 years, an interesting 10 years. And as we had the 10th year anniversary of the Roundtable, it got me thinking about the differences between year 1 and year 10, and how our industry has grown and how our world has changed. It's been significant change. We have seen our industry go from nothing, little experiment, not much longer than a decade ago. The first Satoshi Roundtable had about 80 attendees, which was pretty much the whole industry. And as you know, it's changed quite a bit since then. So we were very excited to have this 10th anniversary of this event. And it was especially appropriate that it is here in Dubai. I've been coming here quite some time as well, over 20 years. And I've seen that sort of epic global change here in Dubai. And what's similar about both the Bitcoin industry and the surrounding ecosystem and the economic miracle of Dubai is this theme of epic change, this massive change of what we had as kind of nothing. Dubai, 20 years ago was very much like the crypto industry 10 years ago. It was sort of, small and unknown, and I would say even maybe overly bold by the opinions of some. The mainstream media and the pundits, they said, well, could this vision of Dubai ever work? Are they really going to be a great city in the world? And here now, 20 years later, we see that for sure it has worked. This is, if not the greatest city in the world, certainly one of the greatest cities in the world. And the similarity with our industry is that this is driven by bold vision. Sheikh Mohammed's vision here in Dubai was extremely bold. It was unusually bold. He took something that was nothing and he built something incredible. He by allowing human freedom and allowing people to pursue their dreams and build. So we've seen this incredible change, and it makes me think about who makes change and how do we make change in our world? How do we change the world? Because that, to me, is what it is all about. As I look forward to today, where we are now, Dubai is an amazing place now. The UAE has grown leaps and bounds in the last 10 years and the last 20 years. The crypto industry didn't even exist 20 years ago, but has grown rapidly in the last decade. It has changed lives and transformed. And that is especially significant today because right now, this year, 2024, we are clearly in a fourth turning. A fourth turning is a time of epic change. It's a time that comes every 100 years or so. There's books and articles you can read about this concept, but it's been tracked going back hundreds of years, around every century or so, due to various factors in generations and how generations interact. You have a rebirth and a rebuilding. You have old power structures that have spent the last century building up, and they come collapsing down, and new power structures rise. And we're seeing that now before our eyes. We're seeing the fall of old, antiquated news systems, and we see the rise of TikTok and Joe Rogan. We see the fall of antiquated fiat monetary systems and central banks and fancy people in fancy offices who try and lord over us and rule over us. And we see the rise of decentralized technology. And we're in this time of epic change. We're in this time of chaos and violence and sadness. It is a hard time in the world. And I feel very sad sometimes, very angry sometimes at our world. I think anybody who looks at social media, and we should all probably never look at it, but you kind of have to. It's like a car accident when you're driving by. But if you're like me and you look at the world and you see the violence and the destruction and the death and the insanity and the craziness and the people who don't even know what's true, it's incredibly frustrating. But I have hope. And the hope comes from the builders. The hope comes from the people with the vision. The people like Sheikh Mohammed and the people who built our industry in the crypto industry. The people who said, wait a minute, we get to decide how the world is. We get to decide how to build a better world. We get to choose this by simply having a vision and deciding that that's what we want to do, that we want to make the world better. So when I get frustrated at the world and I see the news headlines and the insanity and the craziness, I go back to this. I double down on our industry. I double down on the principles that brought me into the crypto business 10 years ago, the principles of decentralization, of empowering individuals over centralized tyrants, the principles of eliminating the corrupt and violent central banking system and fiat system, which is so broken and so destructive to all of us, and embracing something that's better, something that's a vision, just like this place, just like this city, just like anything that has ever been built in the history of humanity. It all came from a dream. It all came from some person who looked at the status quo, who looked at the broken, destructive, violent world and said, no, no more, no more. I don't take it anymore. I'm not going to take it anymore. I don't want this broken world, and I won't have my kids live in this broken world. I'm going to embrace something better. I'm going to make something better for my children. I'm going to make something better for the world. And this technology is absolutely magical for this. It is transformative. It is significant. It is as significant as the printing press. It is as significant as any invention that humanity has had. And we've been given this gift. God gave us math and science, and Satoshi gave us this vision of decentralized technology and gave this code away for all of us to build on. And people have built all kinds of projects and all kinds of things on top of it. And at the central point of that is the idea that it empowers us, the people. And that is where the power comes from. We have the power. You have the power. You in this room. You can make a change in the world. And that's exactly what we're doing in our industry. We can make the world a better place. I've said before, you'll come for the Lambos, but you'll stay for the decentralized revolution that will bring humanity peace. And yeah, the Lambos are nice, the financial rewards are nice, but in the future, if we are lucky enough to live to be old and gray, we will remember these times and we'll remember what we did to make the world a better place. And this technology, make no mistake about it, money and the centralized banking system in the world is deeply, deeply broken. Almost any problem that you can name traces back to a broken centralized system. The few that don't also trace back to centralized power structures and tyrants. And what this technology represents is an alternative to that. It represents something better. It's a crazy idea. It's a bold idea. It's an ambitious idea, just as Dubai was 20 years ago. Who are we? Who are we nerds to have our nerd money with this crazy Bitcoin thing, this Satoshi thing? Who are we? Who are we to do this? It is a crazy idea, but it's less crazy than the current status quo. It's less crazy than people sitting in fancy offices in marble buildings in Washington, D.C. that they paid for with money that they stole from the people, printing money out of thin air and giving it to bankers and bombing people all over the world. That's the crazy system. That's the broken system. And that's the root of this. That's the root of what this is all about. That's what the cypherpunk revolution is about. Don't forget that. Don't get distracted by the Lambos and the deals and the money. That's a nice thing. I'm as capitalist as anybody can be, and it's great to have the capitalism as a fuel. But at the end of the day, and at the end of our lives, and when history books are written about these times, nobody's going to care how much your bank account balance was. They're going to care what part you had in the revolution to make the world a better place. And right now is a time of epic change. It's a time of epic change in the world. This fourth turning, it's going to go one way or another. It's going to go down a path of tyranny and destruction and darkness for a generation or two. Or, I believe, It will be a time, just like with the advent of the printing press and other great technologies, that it unleashes and untaps human potential and creativity and decentralized power of individuals, places the power in the hands of the people to make a better form of money and a better form of economy and move forward. So as I think about the last 10 years and the last 20 years, and I think about this very unique and special time that we are in today, right now, as we are here, I'd urge everybody to do your part. Think about how you're going to make the world better. The world changes with each of us. It changes with that vision. And the way to change it is to start with the desire to change it and the bold vision. Try and emulate people like Sheikh Mohammed and the people and Satoshi Nakamoto and the people throughout history who had these bold and even sometimes crazy ideas. If not us, who? If not now, when? Why not you? Why not us? Why not make the world better? We have to. We have to for our children. We have to for our future. And this technology is absolutely key to this. It can make the world a better place. It can unwind the deeply broken power structures and fiat system that is causing so much damage, and it can empower us all. And just like the first stock exchange and the first publicly traded stock that came about in the 1600s, the Dutch East India Company, the invention of this concept called equity, just as that unleashed a new form of economic growth and unleashed the ability for people to share risk and led to hundreds of years of economic growth, that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening right now. This is a big deal. One of the things that clicked for me when I first got into this space was understanding that Bitcoin is an invention. It's an invention, and the toothpaste can't be put back in the tube. We have a better way to do things now. We have a better way to run money. We have a better way to share value. We have a better way to decide who has what equity and know what is true. At the end of the day, a blockchain is a system of truth. So I urge you to use this technology, build on this technology. Don't be afraid of having a bold vision. We are making the world better. We can make the world a better place. And I hope you'll enjoy this journey with me. And let's all look back on history at this.
Give him a big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bruce. This was inspiring. This was inspiring. And to quote my dear friend Lily from Solana, Bitcoin is freedom, and what better man to paint a picture around this than Bruce Fenton. He's on his way out. I think he really deserves another round of applause, everyone. Well done. Bruce has managed to put together an event that brings together the biggest thought leaders in this space. I've had the honor and the pleasure to be part of this for the last 5 days for the second or third time, and it's absolutely impressive to see all of these amazing minds, and they have one thing in common. They're all in love with Dubai, and they're coming here to the UAE. And with that, no better introduction than someone that when I met him, I had a fanboy moment, because he's the founder of Qtum and the founder of Moonland, someone that's been shaping this space for more than 10 years. Give a big round of applause to Miguel, everyone.
100% agree with everything that Bruce Fenton said. I've been in the crypto space for 10 years. And, thank you.
Here, yeah?
I've been in the crypto space for 10 years, 11 years now, 2013 when I got here. And back then it was very few people. Most of us were just completely anonymous, living in different places. And we sort of knew each other through IRC channels, and everyone was just hacking away at ideas, Myself, I was setting up mining pools. I was a miner myself when I got started into crypto. And see how it's grown over the years and becoming what it has become, and the potential that we can see now. It's incredible. It's just unbelievable to see where everything is going. And part of my career in crypto, just a quick introduction. My name is Miguel Palencia. I'm from Colombia. And I was the co-founder and CTO of the BitC incubator in China, and out of that incubator, we founded two projects. One was VeChain, and the other one is Quantum. So VeChain was probably the first product that was able to use blockchain technology to do traceability and anti-piracy of physical products. So we directly work with some major luxury brands in Europe, and also with DIG in China, which is direct imported goods. So everything that gets imported into Shanghai is actually using blockchain, and they have been doing so for a number of years now. So over the years, I started to looking into the video game industry. I always felt that blockchain could do so many more things that, the usual use cases that we knew, which is, financial use cases and blockchain traceability. But what if we could have video games that benefited from all of this, where you could have decentralized stats and decentralized avatars, decentralized users that you could move from different games to one game to another, and all the items that you claim and every experience point that you gain over time will just make, let's say, your avatar stronger, and it will be completely decentralized, and you can move from any game to another. So the first concept was not Moonland. The first concept was another game that I sort of wrote back in the day. It was called Realms of Eternity. Never made it to reality. And kind of had the idea back in 2018, but 2 years ago was when we started making Moonland. And so after Moonland, after starting with Moonland, that's when we were able to see how blockchain technology could benefit video games, and video games could benefit blockchain technology. So back in the day, we started with Quantum. It was the first blockchain that we built from the ground up, based off from the Bitcoin code source. And what we did was we added full EVM support from Ethereum into Quantum. And that made us the first UTXO blockchain back in 2016 that was able to support smart contracts 100% compatible with Ethereum. Over time, we added more features. These are coming directly from Bitcoin itself. Taproot integration, which allows for smart contracts on the Ethereum network. And we recently launched ordinals, which is basically NFTs from Bitcoin that can run also on this blockchain. And for the future, Quantum is continuing to grow. It's been one of the top projects in the past 8 years now. And we are opening up to a global expansion market by integrating USDC and making large partnerships that will make Quantum a much bigger blockchain project. And so yeah, we are probably one of the very few blockchains that have been running this long without having any major security issue. The blockchain never halted, never stopped, never reversed. And that's a great achievement. As most of you know, security issues on blockchain technology are pretty normal stuff. Very few blockchains have been safe from this. One of them is, of course, Bitcoin. And one of the things that we are looking into deeply, both with Quantum and Moonland, is Web3. Web3 technology is something that most people are talking about recently. And by all of this previous technical integration allows us to have solutions that will enable Web3. But what is Web3 anyway? Web3 is the future of the internet, and it's fueled by blockchain. It's fueled by that freedom, by that power, by that flexibility that only blockchain technology can provide. There are many blockchains that already offer different solutions for Web3 technology, and that's a great thing. And every day we're seeing more and more developments, better wallets, better applications, better solutions, new ideas. Like some of the people attending here probably will come up with an idea that no one has come up before, and that's a great thing. You're looking at kids now who are in high school, who are in college, and they already know about Web3 technology. So this is going to change everything. At the end, as Bruce Fenton said, decentralization is the basis of everything. And by having decentralization of your storage, of your DNS, which eventually we will be able to have the internet that's decentralized, that's not controlled by a single entity, that will give us more freedom. It will make the whole platform safer and more secure. So over time, Web3 technology will allow for trustless, where you don't have to trust a third party because you control your own funds, you control your own applications. And in many ways, this will open features that we haven't even thought of yet. So what we came up with, our solution, our first project is called Moonland. Development started in 2022. It's a video game. It's a multiplayer online RPG, metaverse, and video game at the same time. So this was designed with the idea of having a social interaction metaverse solution, so to speak.
1 minute, Miguel, yeah?
All right. So, okay, I don't have that long, but we are launching the project this year. So basically, we just released a light paper at lightpaper.mundanmeta.com, and we created a token utility and an ecosystem.
All righty. So I did say I had a fanboy moment when I met Miguel, because Qtum was Quantum was one of the first chains that I used out there. See, I can talk and move chairs at the same time. Right, with that, the next lady that is going to be here up on stage, I have fanboy moments with her every time I see her. She's someone that is an exemplary leader in this space, someone that I'm happy to call a friend. But give a big round of applause to Lily from Solana. No, you can do better. Give her a big round of applause, everyone. All righty. Welcome.
Hi.
We spent the last 5 days prepping for this, right?
I remember the last time when we first met was here in Dubai back in May last year. We also did one of these here in Dubai, so we should make this a tradition, Saker.
Super, I like it. Every time you're here, we're going to do one of those. All right, Lily, I just said, I think the world needs more leaders like yourself. I think you're an example of a leader in this space. Tell us a little bit about what got you to Solana and where you are today.
So I joke sometimes that I got into Bitcoin in 2013. And the people who got into Bitcoin, or crypto, which was really just Bitcoin back then, got into crypto for some combination of 3 reasons. 1 is because of the politics, 2 is because of the tech, or 3 is because of the drugs.
Yeah, applaud the drugs, of course.
We
We're in
see
Dubai.
you. We see you.
This is all recorded.
So for myself, I got into it for the first reason. I was living in China at the time, and for me, it just represented this really radical idea that technology could really enable freedom that really belonged to the individual, right? It encodes freedom for the individual, and that's really metaphorically and also literally what self-custody stands for. Because I was living in China at the time, and I'd sort of studied Chinese history for a long time since I was a kid, that really rang true and rang home for me. Because when you live in a place which has even a competent, but a very clearly centrally controlled government,
right,
you see all of the pros and the cons of that. And the kind of completely left field, the polar opposite to that system, which has its own pros and cons, it's not to say that it's strictly better in all ways, was just so fascinating as an alternative. And also when you live outside of the Western world where money doesn't work as well and money is oftentimes used as an instrument of control, that I think the need for something which really belongs to the individual is really self-evident, right? And that started with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is the only thing out there that gets to be infrastructure, which is the application, which is digital gold. Everyone else from Ethereum since it's infrastructure for applications, which on one hand, means you got to work a lot harder because you have to keep on building stuff,
right,
and you have to keep on working on your core protocol, which is something of the last 4 hours we're thinking about very intensely at the moment at Solana.
I'm sure no one here knows what you're talking about. So.
And it also means that that's on one hand it's a lot more work, but it's also a lot more powerful because you're not just self-custodying your money, you're self-custodying even broader aspects of your life. And that's both terrifying. Honestly, it could go either way right now. In the same way that we saw 20 years ago, all the promise of freedom of information, and over the last 10 years, that sort of get co-opted into additional rails of control, right? That can happen in blockchain as well, for sure, right? When we think about CBDC, I know there's a number of public blockchain folks out there. If you really look in the mirror, you're like, why are you so excited about government adoption of your chain for CBDCs? Oh, it's users adoption. Okay, right? Careful with that one. And I think that right now we're kind of at a fork in the road where these things can go either way. And so many of the kind of technological trends that we have already embraced are excited about embracing right now because we look at their scalability. Okay, sure, scalability, but then what also does that mean? You kind of centralize control over just a few nodes. We've seen how that's gone over the last 10 years.
Right.
And to me, crypto is one of the few things that can really provide a check and balance against that, which is also not a guaranteed path, but it's like one of the few scalable tech trends we have. And if we let go of that one because, we want the eyeballs from a CBDC, that's bad.
So I'm in this halfway camp. I started my blockchain journey with government, right? So and here a lot of the government adoption has been positive, but at the same time, the longer I am in this space, the more I realize that really it's either open or nothing. With that, Solana has done a fantastic move from the last time we've spoken, and you guys are active here in the UAE. You're spending more time in the region. Tell us more about that.
So the way we think about the role of the foundation in Solana is that we are a little bit kind of like the initial government of a city with the task to help build that city.
Right.
What that means is you don't try to control everything. In fact, you try to build as little to nothing as possible because you want to attract producers to come and build within your city. And being here in the UAE, it's actually quite interesting because the way we try to think about economic development in the Solana city is actually largely inspired by how city-states think about that. And so a lot of the themes that we've been talking about for, since Bitcoin came along, really, jurisdictional competition, right? About this government being a facilitator of societies to thrive rather than being the controllers of societies. It's just a total mindset shift. And unfortunately, over the last 10 years in particular, I feel like most of the previously enlightened jurisdictions out there, not so enlightened, right? They're doubling down on control, colluding against citizens, pushing narratives where if you don't agree with that increasing sort of chokehold of control, then it means you're a morally corrupt person. And these narratives are just obviously untrue. And there's only a few places in the world that, their kind of historical origins aside, what they share is they share a progressiveness, not in the way we typically mean in the Western world, but a progressiveness to prioritize economic freedom, and that providing a platform that, by and large, empowers citizens in a productive and constructive society. Obviously, this is like a highly, controversial topic, but that's what crypto really proposes in a very radical sense. It is inherently controversial.
You are the president of the Solana Foundation, but I want to talk to a quote that Ralph whispered in my ear a few minutes back. You're quoted to say Bitcoin is freedom. What do you mean by that?
Well, some of the things we've been talking about, self-custody means that you have economic freedom. And when you're empowered with economic freedom, then so many of the other freedoms come from economic freedom. Where the finances sit oftentimes is where the decision-making capability also sits. And so when you have economic freedom, you have economic agency, right? You can make choices. And it starts with the most basic choices, which is those of sustenance, and then obviously, goes from there. And so, Bitcoin to me and what Bitcoin invented is updating sort of what it means to really own your destiny in a technology-enabled world. And the more, our data is custodied, used, inferred, manipulated, sold against advertising to provide certain narratives to us, the more that kind of concept of self-custody I find to be essential. And so I know sometimes people sort of, open CoinGecko or whatever and look at, this and the other, and this coin, that coin, whatever, and kind of get into, well, which community you're part of, and, what's your flag, what's your tribe. The reason why I still always refer to Bitcoin, and even as I'm very involved in other communities, my social media, my LinkedIn will forever say Bitcoin on it.
Right.
I think it's just an issue of filial piety. Bitcoin's the one that started it, and the technical sort of aspects of it aside, I see it as self-custody is our shared common denominator. And Bitcoin is the one that invented that gave that to us, and is really the shared kind of light that all of these blockchains, right? Your Web3, your proof of stake, your proof of work, okay, fine, right? What we really believe in is self-custody, and that's because that is how we exercise freedom, individual freedom, in the technological age.
I love it. Now I'm in this unique situation where I have you on stage while something very unique is happening right now. I don't want to go and press you for an answer on one way or the other, but where should everyone go to keep up to date on the latest information while everything's unfolding?
Yeah, validators are working on a restart. We don't have a full postmortem yet. From what I understand, there was sort of a deprecated loader that was basically running some sort of loop. Don't quote me on that. Still trying to figure it out.
Where do we get the latest information? What's the trusted news source?
X, Twitter.
X Twitter?
Yeah, it is crypto after all, so I think that's probably the best place to turn.
All right, wonderful, Lily. Every time I have you, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for doubling down on the region and for being here with us. Give her a big round of applause, Lily, from
Thanks,
the
guys.
president of the
Good to be
Solana
here.
Foundation. Thank you, Lily. Thank you so much. All righty. Ralph, you're next, right? Just checking. Right. Now, I have this partner that I ran into, and he's the master of crazy ideas, right? So there we sat, and he's like, "Hey, no one's published a decent protocol report." And we're like, "Yeah, but we have the ecosystem report, we have the green block report, we have a magazine that we're doing, we have 15,000 events that we're doing." He's like, "No, we really need a protocol report." And with that, every time we start, we say, no, we're not going to do the same mistake as last time. The ecosystem report was 300 pages. This time it's going to be 20 pages of the protocol report. With that, we've had the distinct pleasure of publishing the protocol report in Davos 2024. And here to tell us more about this is none other than Ralph Klabischnik. Give him a big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you. What is the idea behind this protocol report? You know, why Zug and the Crypto Valley happened is the Ethereum Foundation searched for a home. And Michael Liese was the guy of the founders looking for a home. He was flying around worldwide and trying to find the best place to locate a new disruptive protocol. And he was, by the way, the guy who in January 2014 had the idea to name Zug the Crypto Valley. Because there was the discussion, yet what do you envision, what do you think about? And he said, look, I want something like the Silicon Valley. I want people out of the industry next to each other, but not silicon. Let's do it about crypto. And we celebrated this 10 years Crypto Valley Monday last week in Zug. And another guy in the Crypto Valley called Luca Müller, MME, a legal firm, had the idea to use the foundation model, the Swiss foundation model, as the jurisdiction model for layer 1 protocols, for the Ethereum Foundation. And this was the start for many others to follow. Yeah? Solana came to Switzerland, that was much later, but Cardano, Tezos, the Web3 Foundation, and many more. And what I wanted to find out with this protocol report is three things. I wanted to understand where the most layer 1 protocols and also layer 2s, what is the development on the price side, on the funding side, where are they heading? And the third thing is, what is the utilization, how many developers, what is the ecosystem, what is the network behind? So what is really the adoption of those? And I said to my team, guys, let's do this report. And at this time, there was also the first layer 1 foundation set up in Abu Dhabi, the Venom Foundation. Never went live. I hope the guys are coming back. But we see there's a lot happening, and I wanted to see the comparison between Switzerland, between the world, between what's happening here. Now I want to show you a video on that. Can we start the video?
No, we can't. No, continue.
Good. we have a marketing genius with us. This is Faisal Saidi. Faisal is always quiet in the back. I want to have some applause for Faisal, please. And Faisal is the guy behind who did all the work. We worked with the DLT Science Foundation. We got articles from a lot of protocols. We got the detailed information about the size and what's going on. You see here the Bitcoin domination on the timeline. A lot of very interesting information. I don't want to bore you today with that information. You will see a barcode at the end of this presentation. With that barcode, you can download your copy and see what I wanted to learn at the end of the day and what the team put together. Of course, it can be more detailed, it can be better, probably there are mistakes in it, but we put a few hundred hours or probably a few thousand hours of work into it to put it the first time together. So please have a look. If you see a mistake, don't keep it for yourself. Write us, we're going to change it. Yeah? Don't be upset if it's not true, because we try every day to be better and to learn together and to get onto this next level. So what I want to do now, I want to talk more about what's possible on top of these layer ones. Yeah? What can be the next big thing in the blockchain space? And there's one big term, it's called RWA, Real World Assets Tokenization. And I would like to start with the next fireside chat and get Hansi to me. And the chair's back.
Hensi?
Coming.
All right, with that, Hensi is coming to the stage. Give Hensi and Ralph a big round of applause.
It's just us. Yeah. You want more? We have
I can stand
250
here.
people sitting
yeah, but we
here.
can get the people on stage as well. You're okay? All right, okay.
Get all the limelight for myself.
Yeah. No, Hansi, today we're talking about real-world asset tokenization. More in a general way. We had a project in 2018 with a company called EMA. You probably saw this small name on a few of the buildings here in Dubai. And they tried to tokenize real estate. It was the last 24 flats of the Burj Khalifa. And what did they do at the end of the day? They set up a company in Switzerland, because tokenization in the UAE at this time was not possible. We're working together on another project right now. You see the videos in the background. It's a company called DDX Global. They're trying again to build a sustainable city, tokenize the city, and use blockchain. Probably, can you give us an overview what changed on the regulatory side in the UAE that's possible now to tokenize real-world assets?
So real-world assets, I think we need to separate them, even though, yes, real estate is real-world assets, but I think we need to separate them into real-world assets and real estate, right? So real-world assets can be tokenized here, no problem. It's the real estate side that we were facing challenges with. But since all of this started, I mean, the SCA has defined how they would consider it. So let me go back a step, right? Tokenizing real-world assets. Do you want me to go into the real estate
yes,
side?
Yes,
please.
No,
yeah? Okay.
Come.
So, because DDX is predominantly real estate, so real-world assets with real estate, that's where it became tricky because of the whole system that they have for ownership of registering owners. So you have to identify the real estate and then you have to tokenize it. And then because we have essentially 4 different regulators, 3 in the Emirates and then 1 federal and then another authority, depending on where you have the company that owns the real estate, that would determine the regulations that would apply to the tokenization of the company that owns the real estate security token.
Agreed so far, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, I mean,
brain works like this.
probably very important. We need smart lawyers to use this technology and to to extend what the legal framework gives us today. We're working on a lot of real-world asset tokenization projects. I personally believe in the commodity space we have a huge potential because there's a lot of intransparency there. But the people who are there, they don't want transparency, probably. We have one project, for example, they do Bitcoin gold directly without something in between. That is real freedom if you can move your gold with Bitcoin back and forth and we get more Bitcoin to Africa. But coming back to this project, when we look into Dubai, I think there's the Dubai Land Department actively involved. How does this work today when you buy and sell real estate here?
With the tokenization aspect?
In general.
In general. Okay. So when you buy and sell real estate in the UAE, you have to register who the owner is. And then when you transfer ownership, there's a 4% fee that gets charged. So even if you're transferring from yourself, you're registered as the personal owner of the real estate, and you have a holding company that's wholly owned by you, same UBO, everything, still to transfer from yourself to even your own company would get that 4%. So when we're talking about, if we put it into virtual assets, right? If we're talking about a whole bunch of people potentially, like fractionalized ownership through tokenization or just fractionalized ownership in general, how many times are we going to have to pay that 4% each time a change is made?
Yeah, that's very expensive. So liquidity makes it very expensive in that case, and we need to find a way around. And this is also the reason why we are looking into alternative regulatory frameworks. And at the end of the day, it's always to find this small gap which still works and is not on the black side, is on the gray side probably, and works out to build something very beautiful like that, what you see in the back end, and it on the sides only. And you see a few $1 billion are needed to build that. But which country beside the UAE or probably Saudi would be the right place to do that?
So there's a number of things we have to consider here. So number one is the actual real estate. And then if we're tokenizing it, then we have to have the real estate owned by a company and then tokenize the shares. Or tokenize some aspect of it, right? Like we have a local company, Toko, that found a creative solution by tokenizing the lease income from a property. But if we're talking about actual ownership, then we need to be tokenizing the shares in the entity. So where do we do that? There's more. So Switzerland, we've worked a lot with Switzerland for a number of reasons, and I can go into that if you wish, for the security token. But there's various other places. So there's a lot of places that are actually that are bringing out regulations for security tokens. So you have Singapore, you have UAE, you even have France and Europe and Switzerland, Malaysia, Thailand. But the difference being that most of the places that are starting to get into the security token space, they're looping the security token under the already existing regulations for securities. Whereas Switzerland has actually brought out regulations and is quite deep into this, right? Since I think like 2017 when they dismissed the privacy regulations, and then there was a gap, and then they filled it with the crypto, the virtual asset element. So Switzerland has been doing this for a long time, to the point where they even have regulations on tax that apply to different virtual assets. So it's a very advanced jurisdiction, especially for security tokens. It's perfect. And then just linking it, I mean, I don't believe that there's any restrictions on a company from Switzerland owning land or owning property in the UAE. So.
Hopefully not, hopefully not. I don't want to go more deep into the regulation stuff. What I want to give you as an audience is, first, I believe real-world assets can be the next big thing in the next 24 months, and I hope that kicks off. But just doing it the same as we did it before in the old financial world, I don't believe in it. So we had a very interesting discussion with Lily in Davos, and she said, look, only when we do something totally different, it will really pick up. And the other thing is, if you are worried about regulation, compliance, and all this stuff, we have a beautiful law in Dubai. You should consider her and come over to Hansi. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Give them a big round of applause, everyone. Thank you. All right. I'll be okay.
We
don't
we
worry.
do that.
All righty. Wonderful. So here we are hearing about real world tokenization. Here we are hearing about how Bruce really believes, and I agree, that Bitcoin is changing the world. We heard from Miguel about how this is now his 11th, 12th year creating in this space. The next man is credited, or maybe by a quick show of hand. Who here does self-custody? All right, okay, keep your hands up. I see you up there as well. All right, who here does not use a ledger? It's like 1.5 people, right? And with that, we have someone over here that can be credited for keeping all of us safe, talking to us about if Satoshi Nakamoto would actually approve of the new wave of ATFs and self-custody. No one else than Pascal Gauthier. Give him a big round of applause, everyone.
Hi everyone, it's good to be back here. This is a great stage, and
We're glad to have you here.
well, thank you for the warm welcome every time. Look, you're a very savvy crowd. The show of hand was very impressive, and thank you for your business. We try to do the best that we can to secure this industry. It's not every day easy, but we're really trying as hard as we can. And what I'm going to tell you right now is not rocket science, so you guys already know this, but it has to be repeated again and again, I feel, because I've been in this game since 2014. What I'm going to tell you now is basically what I've been saying since 2014. No one really believed it until FTX in 2022. You guys understand why, but I'll come back on that very quickly. And funny enough, every time there is a new event like the ETF, the question is, thrown at me, at Ledger, and at the industry is finally, why self-custody? Now that we got the ETFs, why self-custody? So let me just start by saying that if not self-custody, why crypto? Why Bitcoin? Bitcoin has been designed to be a peer-to-peer cash electronic system. It has not been designed to be an asset that you put at the bank. If it's just to put yet another asset at the bank, it defeats the purpose of why Bitcoin. Bitcoin, created many things. There are many technologies that sort of are being wrapped up into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But first, this idea of digital ownership. And again, let's remember that Bitcoin was created on the disaster of the 2008 Lehman Brothers. So, no company is too big to fail. And so if you trust your money or your coins to Lehman Brothers or to Coinbase, because if you, go through an ETF, what you really do is you put your coins on Coinbase, most of them. Some BitGo now, and some Fidelity is doing their own self-custody, let's say. But you're trusting a third party with your money. And the story of 2008 that repeated itself again at the end of 22 and beginning of 23, with even Credit Suisse, almost going belly up. If your money is not safe with Swiss banks, where is your money safe, And so this idea that you as an individual now can be self-sovereign and independent financially. You can finally keep your own money in a digital way, and accessing a network, Bitcoin network, that is up 99.999% of the time, that is accessible everywhere on the planet, and it allows you, people always ask, like, but when is the next big thing coming? The big thing is already that you can transact peer-to-peer electronically with anyone on the planet. And actually, before Bitcoin, that didn't exist. Every time you want to interact with electronic money, which already exists, 95% of all dollars are electronic. But as soon as you want to touch a dollar and I want to send you a dollar, for example, there is an intermediary. There is someone in the middle. It comes from a bank, his bank, and someone in the middle to transfer the money. Bitcoin waives all of this and say, no, now it's just between you and your friend, and anywhere in the world you can access it. No one can take it down. No one can take it from you, etc. So it's not bad. And so would Nakamoto disapprove of ETFs? First of all, I really don't know because I've never met the guy. So I don't know what he really thought when he was designing all of this. But what I know is when you read the white paper, you can really feel that you're talking to people that are, geniuses in terms of technology and very geeky. So for them, the private key issue was never an issue. As in, my engineers, for example, they know very well how to handle cryptography and private keys. It's in their blood almost. It's the way that they do things. And you can really feel that the same kind of people wrote the white paper, worked on those kind of technologies. For them, handling private keys was really not the problem. So for sure, I don't think that Satoshi Nakamoto had in mind that Bitcoin would only be a speculative asset. And I think sometimes we are completely blinded to the speculative nature of Bitcoin and crypto assets. Most people talk about this. Most people think that they're very smart because they bought Bitcoins 10 years ago and that Bitcoins are worth more. But I got flash news for everyone that think like that. This is not smart. You took a risk. And because you took a risk, you're getting rewarded. And this is good. Business and entrepreneurship is about taking risk. But it doesn't make us very smart. I'm assuming that most of you guys bought your Bitcoin at a moment where it was good and we sort of all making money. This is why you're here. I think people not making money wouldn't be in this room. But it's not why Bitcoin was created. And the speculative aspect of Bitcoin is necessary because the price of Bitcoin is actually the security of the blockchain itself. So it's important that the price goes up, of course. But it is not the utility necessarily of the coin. And the utility is this peer-to-peer cash electronic system. And so people say, yeah, but nobody pays with Bitcoin, which is not entirely true. Actually, people do it more and more. And this is on the rise. And whether it's because of L2s like the Lightning Network or people putting Bitcoin on credit cards, and you can see those numbers that are really ramping up. As soon as it has value and you can pay with it, it's fine. It sort of works. I sort of lost my train of thoughts here.
That's okay.
That's okay?
That's okay.
Okay, fine. So ETFs is just the size of the art. Thank you. Size of the art that we're all looking at because it's the speculative aspect, speculative nature of the crypto asset. But actually, we were at the Satoshi Roundtable just before, which is considered like a maxi conference. And interestingly enough, something that people didn't see on Bitcoin up until now was what people saw on Ethereum. And what people are seeing on Solana, with Lily just here before, is now applications being built on top of the protocol. And so now suddenly it's not just holding the coin forever that is interesting. It's also what you can do as soon as you have your private keys. So it's not only just about the price of the coin, but it's also what are the applications? What can you really do once you have private keys and coins? And so this is where it becomes very interesting. I mean, typically on Ledger, we see much more activity in the Ethereum and Solana ecosystem that we see in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Bitcoin right now, people buy and hold forever. So Bitcoin is fulfilling its promise of being digital gold. What's happening right now on Bitcoin is very interesting. From originals to ordinals to BRC20 and other layers that are being built on top of Bitcoin. You can really see that Bitcoin is sort of following now the steps of others and sort of adapting to this reality, which is, what can I do once I have my private keys? Okay, I can pay, pay from you to me, but then there are many other things that I can do, and sort of DeFi on Bitcoin is something that is very exciting, and it was the main talk during Satoshi Roundtable. So my prediction is this: what happened between 2014? This is when I entered. Well, between 2008 and 2024 was actually exchanges. Biggest businesses in the space are exchanges, so I would argue that Bitcoin was already fairly centralized. You have your Bitcoin on Binance, you have your Bitcoin on Bitfinex, et cetera. These are central entities. They allow you to access the market. Once you access the market, then you can put your coins onto a ledger, which is what most people did in the past. You buy your Bitcoin with Coinbase, then you put it on a ledger, and once they are on the ledger, then you can start to interact. Typically, our roadmap is around connectivity and what you can do once you have your Bitcoin and or your Ethereum on your ledger. And so the roadmap in terms of hardware, and this year we're going to release a few products, is sort of bigger screens and interactions with other protocol layers. And so this is really where the industry is going right now. And so it's really great that people are coming in through an ETF, because as soon as they will need their coins, they call the ETF, they withdraw to a ledger, and the same process will happen again. So thank you to Coinbase and other exchanges between 2008 and 2024. Thank you now to ETFs to bring the next generation of users into the space. And welcome all to the world of crypto, self-custody, ownership, freedom, I think, because this is what it is about in the end. Freedom to own your money, to own your digital shit, and to do whatever you want with it.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give him a big round of applause. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Merci à vous. Yeah. Wonderful. So here's a man that actually is spending all day, all night to ensure that our coins are safe. Now, last time he said free ledgers for everyone. I'm glad he didn't say this. This is like 600 people here right now. But with that, you can get your ledger, I think, and in Virgin these days and everywhere around. And I'm very happy to see Pascal and his team spending more and more time over here. By sign of applause, who believes that self-custody is the way to go? All right. Okay. All right. Who here would like to invest into an ETF? Thank you very much. And who here believes that this technology will change the world as we know it? All right, okay. I love it. All right, and with that, I'm very, very excited, and I'm not too sure. Faisal, are you in the room? Okay, Faisal isn't in the room. I'll do that. I'll do that with him later. Now, the next two guys that we have on stage, Ralph, you've seen already. And again, I can talk and walk. Ralph, you've seen already, but then also what we're here to, who we'll hear from today also is a man that's actually brought his vision to life here in Dubai. It's an absolutely fantastic space in DIFC, and we're going to hear more from both of them how they use physical spaces to bring us into a digital world. Give a big round of applause to Danilo and Ralph, everyone.
Thank you.
So, me again.
I'm mic'd up.
You're mic'd up. Perfect.
It's a lot of me tonight, but I brought a friend, more a brother from another mother on stage, because another guy from Switzerland, being here in Dubai since quite a while, and having a very similar philosophy than we are having. That means on one side, it's a worldwide cool ecosystem. On the other side, you need something physical, some meeting point where you can sit down, where you can meet people, where you can educate, and where you bring our vision to the next level. And we are both investing in startups, building startups, investing in art, and investing in a cool space. Danilo, tell us a little bit about you, please.
Sure. So first of all, Ralph, nice to be here. I consider you Swiss, although you're Austrian, but that's good.
We consider him Arab, it's okay.
Right. Citizen of the world, citizen of
I feel more Arab than Swiss, by the way, but this is another story.
Great. Yes, so I'm Danilo, half Swiss, half Italian. I'm one of those guys that Lily labeled as entering crypto via the third subject. So that was psychedelics and poker. And today, 10 years, 11 years later, I'm still in the space. I entered in the space in 2012, kind of lost everything in 2014, disappeared for 3 years, came only back in 2017 when I was in the corporate world. Spent time as an angel investor for a long time, and then eventually created Morningstar Ventures here out of Dubai. Our team is very international. We're over 20. We're like an airline company. We speak many languages and pride ourselves to be very young, creative, and very supportive to projects. So we do, in fact, have a few portfolio companies in the audience. And around 2021, December, I was making an investment in a project that was within the art space, the decolonization of art space. At the same time, was after COVID. I felt like I didn't meet enough people here in Dubai, wanted a place to connect, and I had missed out on NFTs. I didn't have any, punks, no monkeys, no apes, nothing. So, one thing led to another. I started being interested in bringing people together. I used to work at YouTube. Back in the days there, they had the concept called the YouTube space, where they were supporting creators to create great content. And I thought myself, what if there was a space here in Dubai where, we can do something with art, digital art, bring people from the crypto community together, particularly because the ecosystem in Dubai was becoming better. The meetups were more high quality, more founders, more investors, more exchanges are coming to Dubai. One thing led to another. I also met Clemence, who was, someone who on my team knew more about art than I do. I'm a people's person, so this is how 37X was born. And 37X today is a place you can go and visit. It's a place in the IFC, 500 square meters, digital art, members club / event space / Web3 hub, where we basically bring really exciting people together. We do private events, public events, and really try to kind of, push blockchain adoption via the art world, because art and creativity are becoming a more and more important part of this ecosystem, and we're happy to be at the very center of it.
Great. I think we see a few nice pictures behind us. We can't follow them, but you gave us some pictures of your
Yes.
team and of the space. When it goes on, you will also see some pictures of a space in Switzerland called the Shed. We did something pretty much similar, but we combined two things. We are not having an arts club in Zug, so we needed something like the arts club with good cigars, good wine, good food, meeting rooms. And I had some friends there from the Paired World guys, and they did a gallery, and we recognized gallery, and that should be closer together, what you did in the beginning. Raluca will be after us on the stage, and I'm supporting the project of Raluca as well. It's about bringing people in the real world together, because I'm personally a little bit afraid of the future. I got 3 kids. I don't want them only hanging out in front of the Oculus or some other Vision Pro. I want them to meet friends, to meet people, and for that we need to create the spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, this event could also be only on the metaverse, but there wouldn't be the drinks before and afterwards. Satoshi Roundtable is not about the speeches. It's about meeting people. And this is the power at the end of the day, because I believe trust you only build up if you meet face to face.
Yes.
It's very hard to build trust on Zoom, Teams, or wherever. And I believe there our visions are very much aligned.
Yeah, 100%. And also, Bruce, actually, I really liked his quote. People come from the Lambos, they stay for the vision, they stay for the idea of blockchain technology. So, I came in this space very much also because I, wanted something new and wanted to have, more freedom. And, 37X, what gets me very excited, and I think is beneficial to everyone in the space, indirectly, is that, if you want to make quick money, the last thing you do is build an art gallery in the IFC with high rent and lots of building problems and stuff like that, right? And
you can also have a restaurant in Zug, by the way. This is
well,
also making no money very well.
So that's true. And I've been actually to the Shed, if you're ever in Zurich or Zug, beautiful place. Like, one big difference, we don't serve alcohol, they serve alcohol. But we serve alcohol during parties, but the process is different. But my point is that via 37X, we've been able to build a bridge that combines Web 2 to Web 3. Like, to give you a few examples, the first brand that took our space was Audemars Piguet, the Swiss watch brand. We had Ahmed Siddiqui, the big family, doing basically all the watches and jewelries here in Dubai, taking our space. Very random, let's say, non-related Web3 companies who actually rented our space. We have Sephora coming up, a makeup company, right? So you have to think about the fact, these brands who definitely care about marketing, care about content, and care to cater kind of the future generation, also of Bitcoin holders, right? And through a physical space, they actually get to trust like what this whole Web3 thing is about. So oftentimes my fellow investors also ask me, like, why did you, take the time to not only invest in this project financially, but also, in terms of opportunity cost and focus. And I think that, for us, of course, we have a business with 37X. We do sell art, and we have like pretty impressive art also from galleries in New York that gave us their art. And we have also a members club concept, but really the value is in kind of connecting with brands and bringing new people into the space, and also oftentimes close deals, right? So we've had a number of cool projects that, we, instead of meeting them in our boring office, we met them at 37X, and that kind of got them to let us invest in them. So definitely encourage you guys to come. And we really need more people in crypto. I'm surprised by how many people still don't know crypto. Last week we were with leadership at Range Rover, automotive industry, huge industry to be disrupted by crypto. They still very much greenhorns, how we call them in Switzerland. So it's beautiful. Let's do it together. And I think events like this are perfect to kind of spread the gospel.
Yep. I heard tomorrow evening there's an event at 37X.
Which
No,
isn't
you don't
open
know
to the
about it.
public, which isn't open to the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's trying to convince me to do a dinner tomorrow.
No, it was just a joke.
Yeah.
But if you follow our channels, and if you follow on Twitter 37X, and if you see the membership model over there, I love it. We are going to be a member, and
Awesome.
we are going to work together in the future. Thank you,
sure.
Danilo, for coming.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank
give
you so
them a
much.
big round of applause,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Raluca, I can't see you. Where are you?
I saw her, I think.
I
She was
saw
here
her earlier
already.
as well. Come. Now's your time. Pardon? The mic is here. All right, with that. So we heard about how bases are being used to bring us into the digital world. I'm honestly not surprised by how, quote unquote, little people know this space. If you're in this space, if you've heard about this yesterday, you're still early. And I say that after close to 10 years in this space. What's missing right now is more and more of us spreading this gospel. And I'm very happy to have Raluca here with us that's still chatting, although that she's supposed to... you want a head mic? She wants a head mic. All right, so I'll... me talk a bit. I don't know what to say. No, but with that, these physical spaces where you are right now is where all of this digital stuff becomes real, right? I'm a firm believer in a digital world. I'm a firm believer in digital assets. I'm a firm believer that everything that we will own in the future, and I'm here to admit it, I don't advise anyone to do it, but everything I own pretty much other than my cars and a couple of physical things is digital. I'm a firm believer in that, but we need the human connection. Without the human connection, if we just lose ourselves in a world of bits and bytes and everything being digital, that's not a world that I want to live in. I want to live in a world where value is fluid, where I can pay for coffee with my earring, or I pay for my car with my house. Why? Why are we living in a world where everything is so siloed? With that, I'm very happy to introduce Raluca. Give her a big round of applause, everyone. She now has a head mic as well.
Can I have
This mic?
the remote?
Oh,
Maybe?
right. Okay, yeah, sure. There
Very
you go.
generous.
Raluca, just because, we've taken all the points, so
It's
this
okay.
is
You
your
always
space here.
disturb me. I'm fine.
All
It's
right,
fine.
and
It's okay.
I'll rush to you in 5 minutes, pretty much.
So I wanted to talk a bit about the human side of Satoshi's legacy. And I think I'm seeing so many faces here in the public today that I recognize from the past few days. We've spent, I think, an incredible time together over the past few days, and I can't thank Bruce enough for what he's done for this industry. We've seen some of the most amazing connections being formed in the past days. Over the past 10 years, some of the most brilliant minds in blockchain have come together to brainstorm, share insights, and it's all in real life. And these gatherings have demonstrated how vital human connection is to helping advancing our space. But what do we talk about this? In an age where the number of digital connections actually outnumbered the stars, we've lost sight of something that's really, really important, and that's human connection. And we've built all these digital vast networks, and we have amassed millions of followers online and likes and friendships and connections. But do we really feel that warmth of genuine human connection? I think we don't. And these screens that actually promised that will bring us together, unfortunately, have showed something else, has led us to feel that connectivity can be replaced by connection. And that's unfortunately not possible. And so we asked ourselves a question. What if technology is not the villain? And what if we could use technology to help us mend that fabric that it broke? What if? And so we've asked ourselves that question, what if technology could help us mend that fabric that it broke? And we found the answers in blockchain, but not as a ledger of transactions, but as a ledger of human moments. And so we worked together over the past year and a half with some of the most powerful and most amazing minds in this space, from neuroscience to psychology and the Blockchain Center at the University of Zurich. And we looked at all the possible ways on how we could actually overcome the challenges that we're facing today with digital addiction and isolation and loneliness. And so we've launched world's first proof of human connection protocol. And we did this because, we thought that all the moments that are recorded via the paired world protocol are those that actually matter. Be it a conversation with someone that we met today, or be it a moment that changed our life because of somebody else. And so then we came up with the first application of the protocol, which is We Meet application. It's the first mobile app of the protocol that actually rewards people for connecting in real life. So it's a very simple interface that we wanted to facilitate to be able to onboard the next hopefully millions of users into the Web3 space. And via this app, you are able to discover events nearby, and you can meet real people and find your tribe, connect with people that share the same values. And you can also either, find events or create your own. But at the end of the day, you make it count because you get rewarded for it. And it's not just the reward of being in person and connecting genuinely with other people. You actually get rewarded by the tokens, by the token of the protocol. So we invite you all to join a global movement if you, like us, believe that it's really important in today's digital world to stay connected. Thank you.
Someone that similar to Lily, I actually have a fanboy moment every single time, is the person that I endearingly call the godfather of the metaverse. Yat is a person that has been in this space for longer than the space existed, pretty much. The work that he's doing with Animoca is some of the most significant in this space. They've actively gone not just into the UAE, but into Saudi Arabia. And here to tell you more about this, give a big warm round of applause to Yatsu, everyone.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
thank you for being flexible. Yeah.
Of course. Can everyone hear me fine? Wonderful. All right, good. So today I'm not talking about Saudi or the region, although I think we're doing a lot of stuff here. I have 7 minutes to tell you about why I think Web3 actually has one of the most...
You want me to stand it again?
What? Sorry, has one of the most powerful narratives around how we can perhaps save capitalism. But let me first talk about the state of the world right now. If you don't know, actually the Gini coefficient is the worst that it's been in the last 40 to 50 years. And we're at a point in history where the inequality is roughly the same as it was just before pre-war Europe. And for those of you who have done your history studies, you will probably remember what happened after. But we're not saying that this is going to happen. But there is a narrative that's happening today. It's not just happening in the US and in the West or in many other countries. It has broken down a faith in capitalism. People have talked about how capitalism is broken, how there's a myth that it never worked, it's basically extracting from common people, and also other terms have come out like techno-feudalism, and essentially it's now become fashionable, even in America, to talk about Karl Marx and socialism, if you haven't noticed, and I think that's very dangerous. And one of the problems we have, of course, is that the biggest area in which we've been extracted from, where most of the value that has been generated over the last few decades has come from technology. But where has this value accrued? I talked about this earlier about digital property rights. But let's just remind ourselves a little that all of us here, we are sources of data, which is the most valuable resource on Earth. We create these blocks of information that, again, that's fed into these platforms. And these blocks of data, basically that compound these network effects, become ever more powerful. And it's because of that that we have OpenAI, ChatGPT, self-driving cars, the power of these companies. 10 years ago, the biggest company had a $500 billion market cap. And today, unless you're close to $1 trillion, maybe you're not that important. These companies are so powerful, they have the top 13 companies in the world have $13 trillion of cash, mostly sitting in Ireland, basically just compounding on themselves. And the real reason is not because they're capitalists. Some people might say, look at these companies, they make all this money, it's a victory of capitalism and it's bad, therefore it's extractive, we need to change it, we need to maybe remove capitalism. But actually, what I would say to you is that they are the most anti-capitalist companies in the world. The reason I say this is not because they make lots of money. It's because when they take our data, there is no free exchange of the value of that data between the customers that exists. Capitalism isn't just the right to property, it also requires a free market. But what is free in this market? What is an open market when you don't have any idea, when you pay advertising, where the money goes to? Does Facebook decide? Well, actually, Facebook decides whether you should be seeing this advertising. It is not you, the advertiser, that decides. It's Google that decides what you get to see or what you don't get to see. So an algorithm designed by a private entity actually is determining the market. In one way, I would say, tech companies, in the way that I guess Yanis describes it as tech feudalism, in a kind of society where they are the lords, decide everything for us today. In fact, they are probably the owners of the means of our production, and they are the ones who control our fate, because they can shape our public opinion. You pay money for something to deliver some service, you have no idea where it goes. There is no exchange of a market. In fact, all these platforms, the trillions of dollars, all these companies, the trillions of dollars that are spent are actually not a free market. So they are the opposite of capitalism within these platforms themselves. They do not give us a free market. Yet we think they are capitalist, and that I think is a big part of the narrative problem that we have. And this is also one of the reasons, particularly in the West, when we talk about Web3 games, people struggle with launching NFTs in the US. In Asia, it's a bit different, because most people in Asia still remember a time where they didn't have property rights. So they love NFTs, they love digital property, they love actually crypto for the most part, because they've known a time when they didn't have this. But in the US, or in many parts of the West, they haven't seen this. So they look at it as a 1 percentile thing. And they also look at it as something that is unfair. So we have this problem not just with games, I think we have it broadly in crypto. The anti-NFT, anti-crypto narrative in the West, I think, is an anti-capitalist narrative as well, which is also the reason why in the US I think it's become the democratic narrative to hate crypto and the Republican narrative to be supportive of it. But why Web3 matters, I think you noticed, but it's worth reiterating, is that actually it reframes capitalism in the way that it ought to. Similarly to the problems that we have in the current form of capitalism, where 99% of the value goes to investors and builders, actually Web3's value distributes across. Whether this is holding tokens in the project in which you have stakes in it, whether this is an NFT where the creator makes money, or the owners of the NFT make money, and of course the platforms make money too. But it's a way in which we can share that value, but not necessarily one that is equal, but one in which the fruits of our labor are rewarded based on a fair distribution of that value in a free and open market. People sometimes are worried about things like vampire attacks, but actually vampire attacks are probably the most anti-monopolistic and most free market thing there is. If Amazon's customer base was open to the world, where we could access them because we knew what they purchased, there wouldn't be one Amazon. There would be 1,000 Amazons that would focus on different products and services, the same that we've seen with NFT marketplaces. And we get better services, and the purpose of that is that we as end users get better value. In the Web3 world, that might be free airdrops, more tokens, more benefits. But these companies that give it to us in Web3 aren't running under. In fact, they're more profitable or more valuable than they were 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. So here's a system that's demonstrated that you can have capitalism, but one that can give fair value to everyone, including its community, its customers, its users, and creators. And this is perhaps best represented, I think, in these NFTs. When you bought many of these NFTs, whether it's a Mochaverse or a Bored Ape or Cool Cat or Land and Sandbox, these were items that cost almost no money, but they became co-creators in your ecosystem. They became stakeholders, a kind of shareholder, but not one that is like a shareholder in a cap table, but a member of that community. I think the future of capitalism is where it's a stakeholder form of capitalism, and we get to basically become partners in the businesses that we can help shape. It's also the reason why value isn't concentrated only on equity, because now it's kind of like a real estate developer, where you can build the real estate, but you can also own part of the real estate. You can own the assets around everything and share that across the people who help build it and the people who help construct it. In closing, I want to say also there's another problem about why capitalism is not known that well and is also not appreciated. It's because a single-digit percentage of the world actually understands financial literacy. All of you in this room know about money. That's why you're in crypto. What we found when we were bringing people from Web 2 to Web 3 games is that many of them actually didn't know what to do with their assets. So even though we brought on millions of people, they still didn't know how to trade or do something because they knew nothing about money. Having a bank account does not make you financially literate. It might give you access, but it doesn't do much more than that. Imagine, though, if our financial literacy went from that single-digit percentage to 20, 30, 40%. Actually, what would happen? We wouldn't have as much financial fraud. We'd have more appreciation of the benefits of capitalism. We would have much more people that would readily invest. There would be more liquidity, and there would be more equity, broadly speaking. So we think that Web3 is that solution, because whether it's Web3 games or everything that you're building here, we're ultimately, as we onboard people from Web 2 to Web 3, turn them into financially literate people. And as a result, they will know more about the world of finance, they will understand the capitalist promise, the benefits of entrepreneurialism, and with games in particular, we can onboard our children to become more financially literate, because if we can teach them algebra, we can certainly teach them compound interest and how to invest. Thank you very much.
Wow. Give them a big round of applause, everyone. Thank you, Yet. As a father of 3 children, I really believe in that vision that we are the shepherds that need to lead them into the 21st century. I did a long enough introduction for our friend Ran, so give him a big round of applause, and thank you for being so flexible. Ran Neuer, everyone.
It's very hard. It's very hard to tell yet, but I think I'm gonna do my best here. So I was asked to speak for 7 minutes as the last talk of the day, knowing that everybody before me is speaking about this amazing industry with this amazing technology, and it's true. I think we are in the most amazing industry in the world. But I also think that we're in the most amazing industry in the world, and that the next 500 days are the most important 500 days of our lives. And I think what I want to use this talk for today is I want to give you guys perspective. Because I think that we all live in this industry, and we've become accustomed to the spoils of this industry. And I think that we often forget what it's like being on the outside of this industry. And so I thought I'd show you some perspective as to why I think the next 500 days are the most important 500 days of our lives in this industry. I said yesterday on Twitter, I actually tweeted and I said, I'm going to play this bull cycle as if it's the last crazy altcoin crypto cycle we've ever seen. I may be right, I may be wrong. If I'm right, I'm going to make sure that I maximize the next 500 days of my life. Everything else except my family can wait. Everything can wait for the next 500 days. Because if I play the next 500 days correctly, and if you play the next 500 days correctly, chances are that if you do this right, not only will we make a massive, massive, massive impact in the world, but also we'll make a massive impact on our lives and future generations in our lives. So why do I say the next 500 days? Obviously, the first thing is that, we've been through multiple cycles. Every cycle gives us returns. Every time we get the returns are slightly less. For those of us who were lucky enough to be around, or those of you that were lucky enough to be around in the 2013 bull run with 16,000% returns, the ones that followed us in the next bull run in 2017, they weren't as lucky. They were still very, very, very lucky by standards of returns. But then the 2021 bull run was even smaller. So every year, every halving cycle, every bull market cycle, we get diminishing returns. And you take that and you couple that with the thesis that I think this is going to be one of the last crazy altcoin cycle returns, you've got to start really making some decisions. The same thing happens with the altcoin cycle. I mean, we had the first altcoin cycle, which took us up 4,000%. The next one took us up slightly less. And it kind of makes sense that the next cycle will get slightly smaller and slightly smaller and slightly smaller. Which means that the quicker you act, the more chance you have of making returns out alive. And in this cycle, the authorities tried to slow us down with their Operation Choke Point. They cut off our banking. They tried to squeeze the air out of our industry. But at the same time, the SEC lost in court and gave us an ETF. And so if you couldn't get money into the crypto cycle via the banking system, don't worry about the banking system, just buy the ETF. When you buy the spot ETF buys spot Bitcoin. When they buy the spot Bitcoin, they buy them from people like us, and that puts a whole lot more liquidity in the cycle. So it's kind of like a game of chess. And in this game of chess, I think we've just had a superior move to the regulators. But I think we all have to remember why we're here. Now, yes, I know, we're all here because of what Yat said and how we're all going to change the world. I know. But the reality is that no one came here to change the world. Let's be honest. We all came here for the returns. And this is where I think we need to come back and get perspective. Because I think we're living in a time where not only do we have an opportunity to make a huge difference fundamentally to the world, probably as big as the World Wide Web, much bigger than the social media revolution, probably much bigger than the mobile phone revolution. This is one of the biggest opportunities we have in our lives. But we're also blessed with an industry that is unlike any other industry that I've ever seen. And just to give you perspective, I was in the dot-com bubble. I built a dot-com company and I went bust. I sold a mobile phone company in the mobile phone revolution and I ended up making a lot of money. I built and sold a social media company and a social media agency. So I've been involved in multiple revolutions. I was involved in internet, I was involved in mobile phone, I was involved in social. When I look at this one is unique. Because not only does it change the world fundamentally for the better of humanity, but also we have the way we created this industry is absolutely, absolutely unique. And the reason for that is we created a scoreboard which allows us to create liquidity out of a venture at any point in time, even at the point of idea. It's never happened before in the history of mankind that you are able to get liquidity on a venture at any point in time, right up from the second that you have an idea. I mean, if you think about it, think about traditional industries. Think about investors in Uber. They put in $25,000 or $50,000 in the beginning. They had a 14-year journey before they cashed out millions and millions and millions of dollars. And in most cases, there's no liquidity. In any other industry that I know, there's absolutely, absolutely no liquidity. In our industry, because of our technology, we were able to create a real-time scoreboard which gives you immediate liquidity for any one of your ventures at any point in time. You have an idea, you can sell liquidity in the idea. You take the idea, you transform it into a white paper, you can convert that into liquidity. You go from a white paper to a proof of concept, you can convert that into more liquidity. You go from a proof of concept to a testnet, more liquidity. You go from a testnet to a mainnet, more liquidity. You go from a mainnet to consumer adoption, even more liquidity. It's the first time in the history of the world that there's ever been the opportunity to create liquidity for such a big industry at any point along the way. What I wanted to do today was just to, again, give us perspective of the industry that we live in. Because, to be honest, my biggest fear right now is not losing money on the markets. My biggest fear right now is not the SEC. My biggest fear right now is going back and being in a normal industry. My biggest fear right now is, what would I do if I left crypto? What would I do if the SEC shut us down? Can you imagine going back to real world where you're earning 5% yield on investing in properties, holding them for 20 years, being completely illiquid? Or having to earn 10, 15% yield on managing a trucking fleet? Or even running a SaaS business? It's the scariest thing in the world. And so what I wanted to do today, in the last talk today, was say, I really wanted to give everybody perspective. And to remind us all, especially those guys that have been here in the trenches for such a long period of time, how lucky we are to be in this industry that is not only fundamentally changing the world, not only the only industry in the world that I know that is truly global, but it's the industry that does all this together whilst giving us a scoreboard with immediate liquidity at any point in your venture, from the time you have the idea till the time you get mainstream adoption. When I look at any other industry in the world, and you could argue that AI is as exciting as crypto for some people, biotech, biohacking, those are all very, very, very exciting industries, right? And if you speak to, I have friends in AI, and they all tell me about how AI is changing the world and how ChatGPT is the biggest thing that ever happened and how our whole lives are going to be changed by AI. And when I see them, I agree. I mean, we could argue that AI is as big, if not bigger, than crypto in terms of the impact that it has already had on society and potentially the trajectory of impact that it will have on society. But how many of your friends are driving, how many of your friends that are in I are driving Lambos? Lambos. Well, that's the perspective that I wanted to give you guys today. I want you guys to, every day that we're in this industry, just remember how lucky we are to be in this industry. And when we get all the issues from the regulators and stuff like that, just remember how lucky we are, and that my biggest fear is actually going back into real business or traditional real world stuff.
I love it. Give him a big round of applause, everyone. To close the day with how much of your friends are driving Lambos. We're in Dubai, Ran. All of our friends drive Lambos, whatever business they're in. But with that, this is an absolutely fantastic gathering. And Faisal, are you finally in the room? Because, you know, I'm not looking just at the coming 500 days, I'm looking at the last 500 days. And today is the first day that I can welcome Faisal back here, him and his wife, Reja, because he got married last week. Give him a big round of applause, everyone. We wish them love, happiness in their marriage, and a blessed union. And may God bless us, this blessed union, and make sure that each one of us has taken away something. We've heard from unique thought leaders in the space. Can I have the last slide, the closing slide, please, on the screen? And with that, you know, when we looked at Crypto Oasis and what we've built, each one of us together, we look at something that is called Crypto Oasis, the fastest growing ecosystem in the world. And one of our partners, someone that has helped, for example, the DMCC do incubators and accelerator, is the Trade Talk Group, led by my brother Gaurav. And I'm very, very happy to see Crypto Oasis at this mature state, to be able to say, I step back from an active role in management and join my brother Gaurav. So this is the last announcement of the day. In the future, you'll see me not just as Slacker Crypto Oasis, but also as Slacker Trade Dog. I'm very, very happy to be here with you. I am humbled by people like Yat and others that have come here to share their thought leadership. And as they say, you ain't got to go home, but you have to get the hell up out of here. Thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy your night. Thank you, everyone.